Hello, Jimmy Fishes here. Welcome to a very special episode. This is my year in review. What was my first year ever making these videos? I started in December of 2024. I had no followers, no channels, no nothing. I attempted to make a steelhead video. I didn't catch any fish. The cameras all died pretty quickly due to the cold. I brought 2 GoPro batteries. I had no idea what I was doing. Since then, I now have a Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and a YouTube channel. My most amount of followers is my Facebook. I'm at like 220 right now. YouTube, I'm right around like 90. I told everybody that I know when I first started this, my goal for the first year was to get 100 followers. I guess I would call that mission accomplished, even though I don't have directly 100 on YouTube. I have multiple across multiple channels, from TikTok and the shorts and all the different stuff that I'm doing. This video is a little different. I'm going to be talking a little more, just taking a look back at some of the content I've put out over the last year. And I guess I'll start with the very first intro I ever did. How we doing, everyone? Jimmy Fishes here at the illustrious Super 8 in Pulaski, New York. At that point, I was just a guy in a hotel room with a GoPro, going fishing with his buddy. I thought it'd be easy, just pop the camera on, catch a bunch of big fish, and the channel would take off. That is not what happened. I learned a lot about the cold and the batteries and how much you need to have and the memory cards. So from that point, I dedicated myself to ice fishing, which right out of the gate didn't go great. My first trip on Scroon, I had the cameras, I had everything ready to go, had a fish on a tip up, lost it at the hole. So I essentially put out 2 episodes without catching a single fish. However, I'm glad to say that I turned it around with the ice fishing and actually had a pretty good year targeting Lakers. Once the ice melted and the sun came out, it was time to get on the kayak and start trying to catch some fish that way. I heard about this thing, the kayak bass fishing tournaments. I was interested. I've never really been a bass fisherman until this year. I bought a kayak, which I thought was a pretty nice kayak, a Wilderness Systems Tarpon. I went out a couple times, kind of figured out a setup, didn't really know what I was doing. I went to my first tournament, which was Saratoga Lake, and when I got to the boat launch, I immediately realized I was outgunned. These guys had live scopes and motors and power poles and all this other stuff. I had a paddle in a wilderness system. To make matters even worse, in the first 15 minutes of being at the tournament, I went to turn on my GoPro and the case broke open and it fell into Saratoga Lake in about 40 feet of water, where it still resides today. I had some good times with the wilderness systems. My wife bought it for me. There's nothing wrong with that kayak. It just wasn't what I was after. I did get a couple videos out with the wilderness systems, and I had a good time using it up until I decided to make a change. So after getting my butt kicked at the Saratoga tournament and realizing my kayak was more of like a take your kayak and go camping for the night and catch some fish along the way type of kayak, and I needed something that I could stand up in and fish and catch bass and all this other stuff, I jumped on Facebook Marketplace. I found an Ascend 128X, which seemed to be exactly what I wanted. I went and picked that up. I added a trolling motor. I kept my same fish finder, and I started to watch more and more YouTube videos of guys doing the kayak bass fishing. And I started to pick up little tips and tricks about setup and having a rod holder right there. So when you get to fish in the boat, you can put your rod in the rod holder, and having your catch board ready to go and tethering your catch board and all these other things. So I finally hit the ground running and was excited to get out and fish my next tournament, which was Lake George. Unfortunately, the day of the Lake George tournament was a monsoon style rainstorm, and I got no footage. I ended up catching, I think I put 3 fish into the scorecard. The 4th fish I caught, it was raining so hard I couldn't even take a picture of it. So driving home from there, I was like, what do I need to do? This is kind of a fail. And I decided I just needed to focus on bass fishing and just go to places that I know and practice different techniques and do different things. And slowly but surely, I started to consistently catch bass. Now, after consistently catching bass, I had my sights set on the Great Sacandaga Lake Tournament. 2 reasons: I wanted to do well and compete in the tournament, but I also wanted to film it in a way that I had all my catches on camera and could make a video that at least made a little bit of sense to your average person who was watching. I'm happy to say that went about as good as it could. I mean, I ended up in 11th place, but that was the second time I'd ever been on Great Sacandaga Lake. The first being the Sunday before, when I had 2 hours to go down and practice a little bit. But I was able to make a video. I was able to catch some fish. I actually had to leave the tournament like 45 minutes early because I was going to a concert with some buddies of mine from high school. So that cut into it a little bit, but all in all, everything worked out. Although not my biggest fish of the year, the next clip I'll show you was probably the most important. It was the tail end of the Great Sacandaga tournament. I had 4 fish on the scorecard. You need 5 to be eligible. I had caught a 5th fish off camera, and when I went to take a picture of it, it flipped and went right back in the water before I could get it so that it counted. I was a little discouraged. The clock was kind of ticking. I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. I decided to go to a spot that I had seen when I was practicing, but I hadn't been there yet. And luckily I was able to catch one more, get my 5th fish for my scorecard, and end the day pretty successfully. After the Sacandaga tournament, I was all in. I couldn't wait for the next series of tournaments. And when's the next one? Unfortunately, life got in the way. I didn't really have a chance to do anything else for the rest of the summer. It was a pretty busy summer. I have a toddler and a superstar athlete daughter. So between that and work and obligations, it was pretty busy. I didn't get a chance to get involved in any of the year-end stuff like the club championship and the state invitational and this and that, but I was very much paying attention and looking forward to it to the future. I took a couple more trips in my kayak and slowly started offloading stuff and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do for this coming year's setup, with, you know, kind of having a little more knowledge of what I needed and what I liked and what other guys are doing and what works for them and, you know, different things. So I was glad in the first weekend of October, I was able to go up north to Paradox Lake and kind of have a day to myself, and was able to catch some fish, and it was kind of the perfect ending to the summer.
baby. Fuck yeah. Frick yeah. Oh, man. Felt the light. I went to cast again. My burn came off. And he was there. That is gone.
I guess I just want to end this by saying thanks to everyone who actually watches these and enjoys it. I have big plans coming up. The winter's already pretty brutally cold. I just haven't had a chance to get out on the ice yet. So keep an eye out. I'm going to have some ice fishing videos coming out soon. I have big plans as far as just not going to Lake George over and over again and catching Lakers. There's a couple different places for a couple different species I want to try. Into the spring, I'm already fully locked in to get a whole new setup and a whole new everything. I'm going to do my best to compete in every single event for the Adirondack KBF this year. Tentatively, my wife has agreed to that, so hopefully things don't change. Life has a way of getting in the way, but I'm looking forward to it. And I just want to say thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Keep an eye out. Season 2, I guess I'm coining it, will be starting soon. I have some big plans to switch up the style of the videos a little bit and not so much sit and talk and here's the video, and doing a couple different things as I get better at editing and managing the cameras and going from there. So that's my year wrapped. Thanks again, everyone.